All right, let's explore the story further now. Speak to Ricardo Teixeira, defense analyst at DefenceWeb, about what might have led these men to travel to Ukraine in the first place. Very good evening to you, Ricardo, and thank you so much for your time. So, when the story, of course, first started last week, and now we're here with yet another installment for you, what alarm bells go off?
Well, firstly, the first alarm bell that rang in my head was that this is a large number. They seem to have gone collectively. So that's an area of concern, because it's not a one-off of someone feeling inspired or believing that the payday is worth it and going over. Secondly, this is not the first time that we've seen people that are of African country citizenships, or even from outside Europe. Some members of, some citizens of Nepal, citizens of Kenya, and some citizens of Colombia have ended up on the Russian side. Many with the same story, believing that there's a lucrative job opportunity, and in essence, they're attracted by false pretenses and are brought in, and within 3 weeks, they're on the front line of one of the worst war zones in human history.
Does it look like this lucrative job opportunity, does it look like it's a false draw card that's being widely used?
Yes, it's been widely used, and it's kind of become a bit of a Russia's playbook. The Russian military doesn't view infantry in terms of their tactics for infantry. They favor a quantity over a quality approach. So they'll take anyone and they'll lure people in on false pretenses from all around the world. There have been thousands that have joined from across the world, as I said. Many have joined from Nepal. Some have also joined from India, and I'm not surprised that South Africans got drawn into this with our high unemployment rate and the high sign-up bonuses that are offered. And there have been advertisements from the Department of Education about internship opportunities in Russia, which are suspected to be linked to drone production opportunities for people that they're looking for to work in factories where they're manufacturing drones. So Russia is really been gearing up this effort to try and attract manpower from wherever they can.
Yeah, and before I even get to, the Foreign Military Assistance Act, I just want to know this particular training, right, in your view, from what you've been able to gather in terms of information, what does it look like?
It's fairly minimal. It's just instruction on how to use a firearm, how to turn a corner in a trench, how to throw a grenade. I don't even think they give them very basic first aid. The Russian side has been very bad at providing combat casualty care. So it's very, very basic. And 3 weeks if you're lucky. I mean, there have been cases where some people were given 2 weeks of training. That particularly came around the time when the Wagner group was recruiting people from the prison system. Many of those people were just given 2 weeks of training and then sent to the front line. I want to emphasize here that the Russian side has a very callous approach to human life and the use of manpower in the war zone. They call it meat wave tactics, and they often just refer to the people that are performing assaults as meat. There have been many recordings and an intelligence report that, where people have openly said that they feel that they're not treated as human.
And that's quite worrying. So, and because in our case, for example, we know that according to the Foreign Military Assistance Act, it is illegal for South African citizens to offer or even provide military assistance to foreign governments or even participate in armies of foreign governments unless authorized by the government. So now, if they were being lured this way, that you and I have just talked about in just a moment, but how then does the South African government get to the bottom of what would have happened here in order to be able to try and maybe assist them?
Well, recent reporting from News 24 in an article that came out this morning alleged that they were sent there by the MK party to undergo training as bodyguards. I don't know any further details about that matter, but that is something that also does not surprise me, that they were just taking people from anywhere under any pretense. But again, the only way that these people are going to come back is on Russia's goodwill, and unfortunately, they don't have a record of goodwill.
And I know that, as you say, you speak about the MK party. That in and itself, yes, we may know very little of detail in that particular regard, but if it does turn out to be true, it would be concerning if a political party would do this.
It's very concerning. It's not a good sign when a political party sends people across the world for so-called security training. why they feel they needed that, why they felt that Russia was an avenue to achieve that, are very, very big questions that we don't have answers to right now. And what they thought the plan really was going to be is another big question of mine. I would like to know if they honestly thought that these people were going to go to train as bodyguards and then come back after a short stint. If they really believe that, then I have some serious doubts in the political future of our country.
And I wonder then, where does the South African government begin to try to get involved here? And coupled with that, right, as you answer that question, how easy or difficult would it be to get them back?
Well, they're going to have to go through diplomatic channels, through Durka and the Russian Foreign Ministry. I know the government likes to say that Russia are friends of ours. Well, this is a real test of that so-called friendship. Because if there's any sort of real friendship between our countries, then they will send them back. But I have severe doubts of that. The Russian side, as I've said, has been very callous towards its treatment of labor and manpower. To get them back is going to be incredibly difficult. The front line right now in the Donbas area is probably it's one of the most dangerous places in human history. There's about a 20 kilometer to 30 kilometer stretch. It's narrow in some areas where there's nothing can move without being seen by a drone. It is oversaturated by drone cover. Russian logistics have completely collapsed. So most of the people that are being pushed to the front line are often walked in. And to get them out is going to be very difficult. I mean, any vehicle movement is seen and picked up by a drone and relatively quickly hit by a drone.
So with
it's very, very dangerous.
Sure. So with that uncertainty then, I think from what I'm hearing you say, it could be months, could be even a longer time before they possibly located or even brought back.
I don't want to give any false hope, but considering the life expectancy of Russian personnel on the front line and how they are treated, I don't think they have months or weeks. I think if you really want to get them out, you're going to have to really push on that diplomatic card and move relatively quickly. That front line is very dynamic at the moment. There's a lot of assaults going on. The Russians are pushing very hard around Pokrovsk and the Kupiansk direction. So it's not a good place for them to be.
And Ricardo, if let's say anything were to happen, who needs to take responsibility?
Well, if the allegations are true, then I think the MK party needs to take responsibility. I mean, the reporting suggests that former President Zuma wrote a letter to the Russian Minister of Defense asking for him to send them back. I think MK is definitely going to have to take some responsibility if those guys don't come back and if those allegations are true. And
as a final question, how should countries be responding coordinately? Because if you think about the fact that, to your earlier point, that there have been other people from different countries that would have then been lured in this particular manner, how then should countries be responding to this? Because if you are taken under false pretenses, that in and itself raises some serious concerns.
In my opinion, the best way forward is sanctions. Russia's not going to stop. Russia really believes that they are going to win the war in Ukraine and they're going to push forward regardless of the cost. And they've shown that countries that are supposedly allies of theirs, such as India and ours, they will take their citizens under false pretenses and use them as manpower in an illegal invasion. So I think the only way forward is, the world needs to see that Russia is not the good guy here. Russia's not a side you want to be on.
Ricardo, I appreciate your time this evening. And I suppose, as you say, the next level of this conversation, right, needs to be on the MK party side in order to understand from them what exactly is going on here. What do they know? What can they tell South Africans, particularly as far as this matter is concerned? Appreciate your time this evening. That's Ricardo Teixeira, a defense analyst at DefenceWeb. We'll continue to try to get the MK party on this particular story in order to understand exactly what is going on here.